let's go ahead and talk about something else that we're always busy with, and that is UFOs in the news. There's, on a daily basis, all kinds of UFO news all over the world. This guy, Jason McClellan, is like all over the place, virtually traveling the globe to find all these UFO stories, and he comes here to share those stories with us every week. Jason McClellan, glad to have you again. Talk some news, baby.
I had to catch my breath. I just got off a plane.
A virtual plane.
This trekking around the globe getting UFO news is exhausting. Yeah. Well, greetings, everyone. This is your Open Minds News Brief for Monday, January 9th, 2012. And Alejandro, bear with me. It might sound cheesy, but before I get into the news, I don't say it enough, but I would like to thank all of our wonderful listeners for tuning in week after week to this show. It does mean a lot. We appreciate it. And we are happy to do the show every single week for you. Thank you for indulging me.
Yeah, these guys are awesome.
All right. I'm going to start off with a story about Stephen Hawking. And you know when Stephen Hawking is in my news, it's because he's being a big downer again.
That guy.
I know.
Lighten up. He needs to lighten up.
Famed theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking celebrated his 70th birthday on Sunday. And to mark his birthday, he recently answered questions from listeners of BBC Radio Channel 4 Today's Show. According to the BBC, quote, topics range from the origins of the universe to the prospects for extraterrestrial life and the impact on Einstein's theory of relativity should neutrinos be confirmed to travel faster than light, end quote. The question that elicited the response about extraterrestrials was submitted by a Twitter user, and the question asked, quote, what do you think the impact will be on humankind if Kepler 22b does indeed support life, end quote. And Hawking responded, the discovery of intelligent life elsewhere in the universe would be the biggest scientific discovery ever, but it would be very risky to attempt to communicate with an alien civilization. If aliens decided to visit us, then the outcome might be similar to when Europeans arrived in the Americas. That did not turn out well for the Native Americans. Hawking made similar comments in a 2010 Discovery Channel special titled Into the Universe with Stephen Hawking. In the special, he cautioned against attempting contact with extraterrestrials, suggesting that they would likely be hostile. Now this guy, again, is back to making his assumptions and painting all extraterrestrials as being these horrible things that are going to come and kill us and take our resources.
Yeah, it's kind of funny message. It's a lot of fun, and it's great to look for aliens, but if we find them, we're screwed.
Right.
They're going to kill us, and we're dead, but it's a lot of fun to look for them. His daughter's even sending up messages. It's a lot of fun to send messages, but if they read the messages and they come, they're going to come kill us.
I do always like to point that out. That does give me a chuckle. You know, despite his warnings, he still participated in his daughter's writing contest. It was called Dear Aliens, where she asked students to submit essays answering these questions, and the winning entry was beamed into space. Mm-hmm. They sent the message, so that in effect they were contacting extraterrestrials, and he was there at the ceremony giving this person their award and sending the message into space, even though he said not to.
Yeah.
But he also talked about, when he was on Today, he commented on space colonization, stating his opinion that humans need to colonize Mars and other bodies in the solar system to prevent extinction. Just last Thursday, former Apollo astronaut Buzz Aldrin wrote about the same topic on Huffington Post. He stated, quote, to make a real difference from an exploration, science, national security, and international leadership perspective, our nation needs to commit to seeking a permanent presence on Mars. So here is Stephen Hawking saying we shouldn't contact extraterrestrials because they're probably hostile. Yet he thinks we need to go and put ourselves on Mars. So my comment is he better hope that they don't have theoretical physicists on Mars spouting the same downer material he is.
Yeah, they're
saying, watch out, aliens, if they come here, they're all going to be terrible and kill us. They're probably right. We probably would be terrible because we like to do that kind of thing. But
yeah, they would be right if they did.
But anyway, lots of talk about space colonization recently, so that's interesting. But in other news, NASA wants to use energy-producing bacteria to power small devices in space. According to the Huffington Post, experimentation with energy-producing bacteria is something that scientists have been doing for nearly a century. But, quote, applications of microbial fuel cell, MFC, technology are just beginning to blossom, end quote. MFC technology could be the perfect solution to power planetary robots because, as the Huffington Post states, quote, the bacteria in MFCs produce electrons automatically and reproduce over time. These devices are extremely reliable. They are also hardy, not needing any oxygen to live and able to survive in the low temperatures of deep space. On top of that, they're more efficient than standard lithium-ion batteries because bacteria can be packed together much more tightly, end quote. The U.S. Naval Research Laboratory, the NRL, reports that NASA hopes to use MFCs to power small space robotics, including micro-rovers that could potentially explore remote regions of outer space. And Alejandro, you may or may not have heard this, but there are some people who say that NASA, the government, etc., have actually taken alien technology and tried to reverse engineer it.
Yeah,
that might be something you've heard of. And perhaps this bacteria technology is something that they've taken from elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you know where I've seen this before, and it makes me think exactly of this technology? Batteries not included.
Oh, that's right.
Thinking of micro rovers, these tiny little robots. Because for this to work, for it to power, right now with the technology as it is, they have to be extremely small.
Well, and think if there were these ultra micro tiny things, it'd be good for people in the future to send them back to the present because we wouldn't even see them.
Right.
And same with aliens. We wouldn't even know they were there.
Well,
and they're crawling around looking at us.
Well, there was an article today, and I didn't actually read it. I didn't actually make it to it, but I just saw the headline, and I think it was also on the Huffington Post talking about how scientists are working on these micro spy robot bugs. These little bugs that are small that have microchips in them to be used as spy equipment. Mini drones. Everyone wants to spy. I've got some UFO news, Alejandro. 2 UFOs flying over the Western Australian town of Coolungup were captured by a night vision camera on December 29th. Hey, that was my birthday. According to the Daily Telegraph, the video shows, quote, a bright light crossing the moon and then mysteriously breaking into 2 pieces, heading in different directions. Several witnesses in other parts of Australia reported seeing similar UFOs on previous days. The witness uploaded the video to YouTube with the following description. Filmed in Coolungup, one orb and another appears next to it. Filmed in the southeast using a Yukon Spirit night vision attached to a JVC Evero monocular was kind of out of focus a bit. To focus the whole thing, I needed to twist the front barrel of the scope and the back eyepiece and then adjust the camera manual focus with telemacro. While objects like the 2 that appear in this video are commonly captured with night vision cameras, some are suggesting that this particular video is fake because the second object appears out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've looked at a lot of night vision video. There are plenty of strange things to be seen with night vision video. But, things that are moving through the sky, whether they're satellites or something different, and a lot of times they're something different, you'll see them moving in a linear pattern, just a straight line. And sometimes they'll turn, or even 90-degree turns, crazy fast, sharp movements. But in this video, I don't know if you saw this video, but it looks like most of these night vision videos where you have an object moving through the sky, and then next to it, this other object appears and goes, just kind of fades in. It doesn't split from the object. It just appears next to it and then goes the other direction.
You know what? I didn't look at this one, and I should have. I wanted to. It was on my to-do list, but I didn't do it.
Take a look at it. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it. To me, I've never seen any of the night vision videos do this, and that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that it's not authentic. It's not something that actually happened, but it is very strange. And even the description that was provided, I didn't see in the video. I didn't see it crossing the moon. I didn't see it splitting into 2 pieces. I saw this second thing kind of appear next to it and shoot off in another direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read what you wrote about it, and I didn't go watch it.
There's always time for that, my friend.
Yep, I'll do that.
Because as I like to
ASAP.
say at the end of the news, you can always read these stories on openminds.tv.
Good point.
Excellent.
Good point.
Here is news about favorite thing we like to talk about, SETI. Just kidding, it's not our favorite to talk about, but SETI seems to always be in the news, so I'm talking about SETI today. SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, detected an unknown radio signal known as the WOW signal on August 15, 1977, with Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope that was so unexpected and impressive that it was named after the response its detection elicited. Wow! And after more than 34 years of silence, SETI recently detected new unknown radio signals. But instead of a wow response this time, the new signals appear to have elicited more of a meh response. SETI scientists recently began using data obtained from NASA's Kepler Space Telescope, which allows their search for radio signals to be more focused. Ian O'Neill from Discovery News recently explained that first candidate signals resulting from this new approach were detected. These signals were announced by the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence at UC Berkeley on Thursday, January 5th. Their announcement stated, quote, "We've started searching our Kepler SETI observations, and our analyses have generated some of our first candidate signals." But, as O'Neill explains, quote, "Sadly, the first candidate signals aren't lucky detections of alien radio transmissions," end quote. The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence at UC Berkeley announced that the newly detected signals are, quote, "undoubtedly examples of terrestrial radio frequency interference," end quote. And to make this point absolutely clear, they updated their website the following day with the following message. "It became clear that we had not stated as definitely as absolutely as possible that these signals are interference. We have updated the post to make this clear. Sorry for any confusion." So, even though they stated that these newly detected signals, quote, "look similar to what we think might be produced from an extraterrestrial technology," end quote, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence at UC Berkeley is strongly pushing an assumption as fact. The International Business Times explains more SETI assumptions, stating, quote, "When a single signal, a Kepler object of interest, comes from multiple positions in the sky, researchers conclude that it's most likely due to interference." SETI scientists will continue analyzing data from the nearly 50 terabytes of data collected in early 2011, and results will reportedly be posted in the coming weeks. Perhaps a signal from ET is waiting in the data to be discovered, but I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to make my own assumption that more assumptions are going to be made.
Well, I don't know, but I kind of took it that these were their first kind of pieces of information to play with. So they were looking for terrestrial stuff, anything that kind of fit, so that they were testing out their new stuff, their new way of doing this. But
well, they're looking at the initial data they have.
Yeah.
And this is the first thing that they came across. And they couldn't identify it 100%. They just assumed that that was interference.
Mm-hmm.
And
but from what I read it, they were looking for interference. They were looking for anything that fit that, just so they could see if it worked and play with it and see how it looked and stuff like that.
Right. But it's kind of silly to me to say this is what we were looking for because it's interference, yet this is what an ET signal will probably look like, so it's what we're looking for anyway. I mean, 2 of the signals they detected were not terrestrial. They could tell that it was either moving towards or going away from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, but I think a lot of assumptions are made, as has been the case with SETI a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It could be. I think it was just, misinterpretation, and they weren't careful in their wording, because assumptions on other sides can be made too.
Oh, yes.
That's what they're worried about. People
yes.
running crazy with assumptions that, he says we got aliens, which people were.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But
yeah, it certainly is.
I, like you, hope they aren't being too skeptical and, disregarding actual anomalous
right.
data.
And as the International Business Times pointed out, I think it's kind of...
This is the International Business Times, so it's not scientists.
This is the
Neither
International...
are we,
this is the International Business Times quoting SETI.
Okay.
But, saying that when a signal from a Kepler object of interest comes from multiple positions in the sky, researchers conclude that it's most likely due to interference. You know, I mean, it's
They're thinking a satellite.
It's certainly possible.
That's what they said.
Right, but this comes from multiple positions in the sky. I mean, you think if extraterrestrials are out there, a certain race of extraterrestrials or something with many ships or different cities, different satellites of their own, you know, their signals would come from multiple positions in the sky, not just one.
Mm-hmm.
So just dismissing those altogether, it's just like dismissing planets that are not Earth-like.
Yeah, but they're not dismissing them. They're just saying that's what they're looking for. That's their whole point, is that this is the type of thing we would look for. Most likely, and all of that kind of thing that we receive now turns out to be like our satellites and man-made things, but it's the sort of thing we look for that we know it's not just space static.
I will give them this. It's actually very smart of them, their new approach to be using this Kepler information. I mean, Kepler is amazing. I love Kepler. And it's actually given us our best look into the rest of the universe.
Yeah.
And it gives them more to go on now than just kind of pointing satellites and guessing.
Kepler and the universe also, it's sweet.
You know, like Kepler.
This universe rocks.
Yes. Well, Alejandro, I will wrap it up. That is it for the news for today. As I mentioned earlier, remember you can check out all of these stories and so many more at openminds.tv, your source for UFO-related news. I'm Jason McClellan, your Open Minds news correspondent, and you have just been briefed.